Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. I just want to say a great thank you to Lord Ahmed, who's been a great friend, and I suppose in a way a mentor as well, because he's slightly older than me, so I can say that perhaps my older brother as well. He came into Parliament before I did, so he's now the longest serving British parliamentarian, probably in the history of any Muslim, or Pakistani particularly, or Kashmiri descent. So I think we owe him that respect in relation to what he has done and what he's achieved. And I think it's people like that actually paved the way for us to come forward. Muhammad Sabr is another one as well. So both of these guys are the two guys that I really look up to, and all the work that they've done. I think the most important issue for me here is to look at what's gone on, what the question that you raised in terms of the economy, and what does the British government wants at the moment. The British government is very much looking at the moment post-Brexit. We came out of Brexit. We should be ending our union with the European Union, which at the end of December. We haven't got a signed agreement in any way to try and solidify that. That doesn't look like happening, and I think there'll be a big rush towards the end. What therefore that leads is that the British government will not be supporting mainly the Kashmiri issue because purely of the economy. We've tried to get so many questions to Prime Minister Boris Johnson on this issue, specifically on the human rights and civil liberties. And we're not doing anything in relation to that. We've not had a single answer from him. So I think in terms of India's economy and the economic position, I am not hopeful from the government to be getting this. What we can continue to try and do is we can try to force the issue, which we've done, all of us, all the parliamentarians have done for a long time, and we will continue to stand up for that. A lot of my new colleagues that have come through are very adamant about this, and all of us, both in the House of Lords and in the Commons, are united on this. That India has got to be exposed for its human rights and civil liberty abuses that continue daily, day in, day out. It is the 70th year of the Geneva Fourth Convention on Human Rights and Civil Liberties. You know, Kashmir has been in that state for more than just over 72 years, I think, right? And that doesn't apply to us. It doesn't apply to the Kashmiris. And that's what's really, I think, gets all of us, is that when we talk about human rights and civil liberties, when we can go around and have South Sudan and North Sudan, we can split up all sorts of different countries at the drop of a hat. This long-running dispute where literally hundreds of thousands of people have died, have been tortured to death, have been put in mass graves. Nothing is said. And I think that is the issue that we should be concentrating on. Lord Nazir covered the international issue quite well. And therefore, what I'm going to try and do is look at how we can do that domestically. So my domestic issue in relation to this is what we do as Kashmiris, both in the UK and the Kashmiri movement in Kashmir, but also Pakistan, how it deals with it. First of all, I think we've got to be united on an agenda, what we want to do. Lord Nazir knows very well that we've got a huge amount of Kashmiri organizations in the UK, probably more than the number of Kashmiri households in sometimes I say this, but we're not united. If we are to be united, and I'm not asking for leadership for myself or for Lord Ahmed, for any of the parliamentarians, what we're saying is let's have a coordinated agenda that we can work on. If we do not have a coordinated agenda, we will not be able to achieve anything. And that is exactly what's happening at the moment. Different people are coming to the House of Commons, different people are having all sorts of photographs with different members of parliament and doing all sorts of things. That does not achieve the cause of the Kashmiri people. The longer we sit here, the longer we have great meetings with 300, 400, 500 people, 600 people, and having our biryani and roast chickens, that doesn't help our people in Kashmir who've been tortured to death. The integrity of the Kashmiri people, the izzat and the dignity of the Kashmiri women, whether they're mothers, whether they're daughters, or whether they're wives, when that continues to be abrogated every single day by the Indian Armed Forces and no recourse to the Geneva Convention. When all of that is happening, when a husband goes out, doesn't know where he's coming back, a son doesn't know where he's coming back, whether they're going to be tortured, whether they're going to be beaten up, whether they come back in the same condition, or whether they come back at all and they're buried in mass graves. None of that is taken up. And it's for up to us to work with us. And I plead to everybody, but certainly in the United Kingdom and Europe and the US, is to work together on a single base agenda. I'm very happy to work with Lord Ahmed and with other parliamentarians to set up a base where we can work from, to be able to provide the guidance. We're happy to ask the questions. We're happy to work that. But we need members from the community to write to members of parliament. If a member of parliament in the UK gets about 10, 12 letters, they're thinking, what the hell's going on? And they will react to that. But we will not do that. I think in terms of both, in terms of what's going on in Kashmir, we also and Pakistan, we need detailed information, which we're not getting. So we can then rebut some of the issues that are coming through in Parliament. So we need information is the best way to attack this. It's no good just playing on emotional heartstrings, which is right, we should. But the real issue is to cut through the substance, is provide real evidence. This lockdown since the 5th of August is horrendous. And nobody in the world is batting an eyelid. Why is that? Are Kashmiri lives so cheap? Is the dignity of the Kashmiris not worth a penny? That is what the problem is. That what we are doing is continuously making our own meetings with ourselves, not going out to the people that we need to reach to, not going out and actually dealing with the issues that we need to deal with. So I think part of the issue has to be to deal with that. India has just gone on as a substitute member for 2 years on the Security Council. How can we stop that? We can stop that by having cohesive campaigns in the West, in those parliaments that we can have a saying in. We don't do that. United Nations, basically, as far as I'm concerned, is an organization that is not fit for purpose. It does not do anything. So I think continually pleading to the United Nations, we're not going to achieve anything. We know where the blocks are. We know what's going to happen. We know how that is dealt with. So I think if we are to have a campaign that deals with the issue of Kashmir, then what we need to do is to have direct campaigns in our parliaments across the West, particularly, and actually to be able to, and Australia, New Zealand as well, in those terms, and wherever they are. And I say just one thing to all of the Muslim countries when we talk about this. We need just one Muslim country from the OIC to take this issue to the international criminal courts. That can be done. But we haven't got a single country that is prepared to take the plight of the Kashmiris to the international criminal courts. And if we did that, the world would stand up and listen to that. So I think what we need to do is forget about lobbying all of the people who are not interested in Kashmir and speak to the people. And the only crime that the Kashmiris have in Kashmir, the Muslim Kashmiris have in Kashmir, is because they're Muslim. All the Muslims that have been killed in India at the moment, the only crime they've committed is to be Muslims. So I think the OIC and the Muslim organizations, about time, stood up and said that we will defend. The whole idea of organization of Islamic countries to do what? If it's not to protect those Muslims that have been persecuted. And that is the question that we've got to ask ourselves. I think rather than relying on other people to do something for us, we've got to act as a community on this issue and determined community action. We've got to get Muslim governments to take a serious issue and the OIC and to be able to deal with this. Otherwise, I don't want to spend another 70 years. Look at this issue of people's dignity not being given to them, people's civil rights not being given to them, their humanity taken away from them. That's what I don't want to happen. So that's what we've got to do. In my terms, we've been saying this for a long time. We need the community on side, but we also need the Islamic countries to stand with the Kashmiri people to be able to move forward. Thank you.